Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all. Um, Today I want some of the conversation we've been having in the past 4 or 5 classes are extremely advanced. And I want to slow down a little bit and go back and do some general reviews and also expand a little bit on some of the topics that we have been covering. I had shared with you that I have been going through a change or a transformation personal to me that relates to the fact that I realized through many years of bumping my head against wall, against challenges, well, first of all, that there were highs and lows in my life over the past 5 years. There were moments where there was ecstatic beauty and a sense of exuberance and joy that was actually coming from the ground, that even the light of the sun was completely different, that I could see different, and I could feel literally joy, exuberance, and almost ecstasy, almost like I was high on something. And it was just breathing and just walking around. And there are other days when I wake up where I feel besieged by some sort of like sense of something constricting my core and feeling a sense of unease and struggle that I couldn't initially identify. And on those days, I spent a lot of time going inside internally, searching for an answer. And in some instances, I got answers, that because there was a multitude of things that are going on because we're transiting from a 3D world into a 5D world. There are solar flares, there are climate change stuff. There is a lot of fear and loss. Prayers are going out right now in my heart for all of the people in Hawaii that dealt with the wildfires very recently, all the families that are homeless now, all of the loss of life. There are quite a bit of things that are going on right now that are quite out of the ordinary, okay? And it's all climate change related. And it's very scary because it happened overnight and suddenly people, the people who escaped, some of them had to literally either jump in the car and drive away very quickly, or they jumped in the water in the sea as a way to protect them from the flames. So my prayer goes out to them. But there are other things that are happening emotionally that are generating fears. And it took me a minute to kind of figure out that there was a master arsonist that was agitating me for those moments in which because to be perfectly honest, it was never one thing. It was a multitude of things that were a lot of time 2 or 3 things at the same time surrounding me and making me feel literally that I was besieged. And it took a minute for me, I'm a Capricorn, I'm very methodical, so I tried to extinguish that fire, and then that second one, and the third, and I never completely understood until a few months back that there was a master arsonist, at which point I began to do the Archangel Michael sword prayer. And this time I was asking Archangel Michael to help me with the adversary, what biblically is often referred to as the accuser, or Satan, as it's called in the Kabbalah. Not a man with a pitchfork, a tail, and horns, but in highly intelligent, sophisticated intelligence that was created to resist us, so that since we are all aspect of the original receiver that is trying to remove shame and undeservedness, that we can begin to struggle to remove, to go back into the gift that the giver is giving us. And in that deep and profound, difficult struggle, we can remove the shame and the undeservedness, and we can find ourselves at a place where we can accept the gift that the giver is trying to give to us. That was the whole point in the manifestation and the creation of our universe, it was a means by which that the original receiver could remove shame and undeservedness. So while all of this was going on, I kept on trying now to find where my receiver was. I told you. So the funny thing about this is that the being, the celestial being, the enlightened being that has been helping me is Kuan Yin. But I did not go out to look for her. What had actually happened is that I had a conversation with a friend who I noticed something was not right with them. And in the process of talking to him, when I called him, he said to me, "Who is this?" I said, "This is Pierre." He's like, "Pierre?" No, we text first. I said, "It's Pierre. Are you okay?" And he said, "Well, I didn't recognize your number because I deleted all my contacts." I said, "Well, would you ever do something like this?" And then I said, "Can we talk? Is it okay if we talk?" Yes, yes, yes. So I called him. And in the process of the conversation, I realized that he was suicidal. So we had a long conversation, and in the course of that conversation, and me trying to help him walk off the ledge, Kuan Yin came in through me and said some very poignant and important thing to make him realize that he's wanted and that he's worth something. So that was the end of the conversation. I went home, everything was fine, etc. The next day, when I went to the waterfront for my meditation, my daily meditation again, Kuan Yin came back to me during meditation and said to me, "I'm here now to help you heal. I'm here for you." I'm like, "Okay." And then she pointed out to me, "Your receiver is out of whack and out of balance." And in the process of that exchange, the memory of my father trying to kill my mother when I was 4 years old came back. And I realized at that moment, I had sworn to myself, because my mom and my whole family was dependent on my dad, and my dad was the giver, that I don't need to receive anything from anybody. And I'm going to be self-sufficient, whatever that meant to me. What I didn't realize at the time, as a survival mechanism, what I did at that moment is that I blocked my capacity to receive. I tried to amputate it out. So I told you I went through this process of trying to, then as I realized the error of my way, and this was I'm trying to simplify it, but it took months for me to do this, okay? I don't want to make it seem like this is something that happened all in one meditation. It was literally inch by inch, drop by drop. So the next day, after I realized that realization was like explosive enough for me to process, I had to sit with it for a while. Then the next day or next couple of days, I was like, okay, so now what do I do? And Kuan Yin came back to me and said, "Ask for forgiveness." And I was like, okay, please forgive me, I love you, and I let go. And I kept saying it, and after a while, I'm like, who am I asking forgiveness to? Because I got confused. Because there were so many things that were swirling about me, because this thing was so big, I didn't know. And she said, "Well, there are two things you're doing. You're going to ask your receiver that you have tried to amputate out for forgiveness for having done this as a survival mechanism. And once you're done with that, you need to forgive yourself from having made that mistake and that error." And I can tell you that several days later, having done both things, there was tremendous healing for me. Whereas before, when I tried to look for my receiver, I couldn't find it anywhere around me. I began to feel it connecting to my body. And I began to feel that I was getting reintegrated. She also said a whole bunch of other stuff, and I will summarize them by just saying that she said that there is no ascended master or enlightened being that actually push out their receiver. Particularly if you're on Earth, Because in order for you to actually manifest anything on earth, you have to have a magnet or capacity to receive, so that the gifts that is coming from the blessed field can be reflected in you. You become the anchor and the magnet that will ground it. And without that grounding, it will not manifest. What she said to me was interesting. She said, you've been able to manifest a few things, but what you're doing is that you're creating temporary bridges. But it's not a permanent state for you because of this problem. And this was immense. This was huge for me, huge. And so I ended up doing a lot of work to try to connect that receiver back into my body, having the capacity to say yes when people are gifting me. And more importantly, not only that, and this is the second part of the receive of removing the shame, is to have gratitude in your heart. Because as long as you have gratitude and you're grateful for the gift and the blessings that you have received, look, whatever my problem is today, I was meditating today and thinking about this. I am not one of these people in Maui that is homeless right now. I'm not one of the family that have lost loved ones. I'm not somebody whose business and everything that they own is burned to the ground. I am very blessed and very fortunate. And therefore, I am lucky and I'm grateful for all that the universe is gifting me today. I'm very, very grateful. And so this is where gratitude comes in, and gratitude end up changing and attracting all kinds of other things. It changes your frequency, it changes your vibration. And so in the process of connecting with the gratitude and connecting with all of this, several months later, Kuan Yin asked me to go back to look at her Heart Sutra. And I'm repeating this because there is a chronology to this. It didn't happen out of the thin air. And I would love for you, if you were interested, if you were, I would throw it as a challenge. If you want to duplicate this, I think it would serve you greatly. Now, some of you may not be, the problem with you may not be that your receiver is out of whack. Some people have the complete capacity to receive, but if you're receiving toxically, meaning you're receiving all the time and you're not giving, that's a problem. Some people, like me, are compulsive givers. And if that is you, then this is something for you to do. So in the course of you having internal dialogue, you will be able to discover where you stand. Because I've met people in the light community, particularly people who are addicted to receiving energy healing. And they're constantly begging for free services. Could you do a healing for me? Could you do all the time? These people are deeply connected to their receiver, and toxically. And they become like a black hole that is trying to absorb as much healing energy. It doesn't matter where it comes from, just give it to me. And so if that's you, the work will have to change for you. I had to do something very different because I had disconnected with the receiver altogether. For example, if that is you, then you need to realign, find the circumstance and event that cause you to become that thirsty and that unbelievably have such a in Tibetan Buddhism, it's called tanha, which is the bottomless pit desire that nothing can fill. Okay, what experience in this lifetime or other lifetime caused this to occur? And whatever that is, you need to reframe it. You need to figure out a way to close, because it's coming from a fear. It's coming from a fear. And if you can find what that fear is, you can close that gap, you can close that loop. So right now, so having done this, she directed me to the sutra, and I went to the sutra. Oh, before this happened, before she directed me to the sutra, in one meditation, she says to me, what would happen if you were in the space? Because now I was more or less in balance. My desire to receive, my desire to give were connecting to each other. They were reflecting each other. And she says to me, what would happen if you were at a point where there are no desires? What would that place look like? And I was like, oh, I was intrigued. And she said to me, because the desire to receive and the desire to give, although they are mirrors of each other in the infinite, they are the primordial duality. Before that, there existed something else, where there was no desire. In the Kabbalah, it's called the Ayin, the Ein Sof, and the Ein Sof the veil of negative existence. In Kabbalistic teaching, they call this the unmoved mover. It's what created everything, but is not moved or vibrating in the way we understand movement and vibration to be. So, and then the next day it was look at the Heart Sutra. So I went back to look at the Heart Sutra, and I shared it with you last week. And there was a lot of information in there, because in the Heart Sutra, she talks about, now I'll quickly remind you and share some of the stuff there again. She's talking to one of her devotees, followers. O Siriputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is the same as emptiness, emptiness is the same as form, and that which is form is empty, and that which is empty has form. And so it is also with sensation, thoughts, activity, and consciousness. What she's saying is something so profound that the entire universe did not come from no thing, from nothing. What we understand emptiness to be is not a void, a black, empty void. It is endless potential for formation and for emanation and for manifestation. And therefore, form is the same as emptiness. Emptiness is the same as form. That which is form is empty, and that which is empty has form. So at its root, at its essence, everything that exists in the universe goes back into potential for manifestation, and it becomes empty. It shows up as an emptiness. O Siriputra, all things are empty. They are not born, they are not annihilated, they are not impure, they are not pure, they do not increase, they do not decrease. Therefore, O Siriputra, in emptiness, there is no form. Listen to what she's saying. In emptiness, there is no form, no thoughts, no activity, no consciousness, no eyes, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no forms, no sounds, no color, no taste, no touch, no object, no element of hearing, no element of vision, no element of smelling, no element of tasting, no element of touching, no element of consciousness. So what she's saying is that when you go into a place, you let your consciousness shift and move into a place where none of that stuff exists. You enter into a realm which is called dharmata in Buddhism, which is the essence of being. Some of you in my meditation, in my guided meditation, have been able to tap into this. It's a place I call the white space. You go into, all of a sudden, it's like you go sideways. Initially, when you go into that space, what initially happens when you first touch it, you feel like you pass out because you go blank. You literally go blank. And then you think a half hour went by or an hour went by, and you came back as if you fell asleep and you went blank. You went somewhere blank. But you didn't go blank. What you did is that you went into emptiness. You went so deep that you went in Dharmata, in the essence of being, which is emptiness. And in that space, what dominates it most of the time is no thoughts whatsoever. It's like you're in a huge volume, an immense, immense volume, and it's typically all white. And the sense, the special sense that you have is that it's immense, it has no end to it. And you're probably, in most cases, the only person, the only awareness or the only consciousness there, but you have no awareness of yourself as a singularity. And in other words, thought, taste, all of the things that you take for granted, they vanish, they're all gone. They're completely wiped out. And there is complete silence in that space. And in addition to that, there is also complete there is a sense of stillness, like everything is still, and then you're it's as if you're listening for something to emerge, but in other words, when you're in that state, you know that there are millions and billions of things around you, but you cannot define what they are, because now you went from singularity into multiplicity. You are now entering a state of trying to understand collective consciousness. And it's very disorienting, and you're trying to understand it, but no singularity of thoughts. It's extremely healing to be in that space. And it's very benefiting. And as you acclimate yourself more and more to going into that space, your consciousness goes like that space. There comes a time when you begin to realize that emptiness is not a void. Because a lot of time when I arrive in that space, out of nowhere, I will get, the best way to describe this, you know, when you're standing on the seashore on a beach, and all of a sudden there's a big wave and the wave comes, and you're trying to get out of the way, but the water splashes your feet. Similarly, it's as if something splashed me. And all of a sudden there was a piece of knowledge for a situation that was in my life in 3D that I didn't even know that I was querying or I was desiring an answer to. All of a sudden it splashed me and it gives me an answer. Or it gives me a direction of what I should be doing, what I should be teaching, or it begin to download information into me piece at a time. In fact, the entire ascension mechanic that I've been teaching you for the past 25 years came by connection into that place, but drip by drip. So she's absolutely right. When you're there, none of the 3D stuff that connects us to our physical 5 senses and body exists. Everything is gone. You're in a different territory. And I'm going to jump a little bit ahead and the next paragraph and read that one for you. All Buddhas of past and present and future depend on the Prajna Paramita to attain the highest and perfect enlightenment. Therefore, one should know that the Prajna Paramita is the great mantra, the mantra of great wisdom, the highest mantra, the unequal mantra, the end of all suffering. The mantra has proclaimed in the Prajna Paramita, O Buddha, going, gone to the other shore, always going to the other shore, always becoming the Buddha. In other words, if you really want to master and elevate your consciousness, you have to make it a goal for you to ultimately, but in order for you to jump, because there's a lot of people who want to bypass, and that's what I was trying to do, and I couldn't do it. This is why she was saying to me, you are expert at creating bridges, but it's not a permanent state. I had dissociated with my receiver. And partly not only because of that experience with my dad, but because also I thought desiring anything for myself or for that matter, for anybody else, is unbecoming of someone who's trying to be enlightened. Therefore, those kind of desire or lower level, I should not feel them. I'm going to block them out. She's saying something completely different. You have to exist, you have to embody the receiver. And once you embody it and own it, then you can sacrifice it and say, I no longer want to operate in that realm. You can't do it by bypass. I remember years ago when I was 19 years old and I was part of the mystery school, and there was a specific ritual called the Shememphora that I was doing. And in the process of doing this, I was invoking the energy of the Christ, and I was doing all this work. It was Kabbalistic, theurgic rituals. And as I was doing all of this, it was a 28 days, a full lunar cycle kind of ritual that you're supposed to do every night. The first night after I did it, I kept hearing a voice in my sleep saying, your sacrifice is not worthy. Your sacrifice is not worthy. On the fourth night, it was again, the sacrifice is not worthy. I used to have very, very long hair. And I was holding a candle in the hand during the ritual on the fifth night. And the candle, as I was holding it in front of me, the flame leaped from the candle and went into my ear like this. And I had to extinguish it because I was burning, and the ritual got upended and I had to stop and all of this. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And that night I slept and I understood, because the same voice came back and said to me, you haven't lived enough, because that very specific ritual was about dedicating the rest of your life to a very specific path. And I was 19 years old. The voice kept saying, you are not ready for that kind of commitment and sacrifice. You're not ready. You haven't lived enough to surrender something. Doing this at this age is not a sacrifice to God. So I'm reminded of the same thing, that if you bypass doing this kind of the balancing between your desire to give and desire to receive, you will not be full. You cannot give. Again, remember, there has to be an effort, a huge effort made to accept that kind of consciousness. So if you're doing it without effort, you're bypassing. So doing, and I have to tell you, I've read this, I've done this Heart Sutra many times before. I've meditated on it, but I never had the result that I'm going to describe to you just now. So what then happened is that as I understood what they're saying, going, what you're doing is that you're releasing, you're sacrificing your negative ego. You're sacrificing the part of you that's 3D grounded. Now that you have fully embodied the full scope of the 3D world, then you can sacrifice it and say, I'm going on the other shore. I'm going on the other side. As it says there, the mantra has proclaimed in the Prajna Paramita, oh Buddha, going on to the other shore, always going to the other shore, always becoming the Buddha. And the next paragraph reads, hail the Sutra of the Heart of great wisdom, the great scripture of the wisdom of the heart, the great scripture of the wisdom of the heart, the great scripture of the wisdom of the heart. And here is the Prajna Paramita in its full, it's a few sentences. It says, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisattva. And it translates into gone over, gone fully over, awake, so be it. Now, I read this and I understood it the way I'm describing it to you now. So I went in the waterfront the next day and I did, to my special bench, I did my meditation normally the way I would do it. And at the very end, I begin to repeat this. And I don't know how many of them I did. It was for about 10 or 15 minutes, maybe. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gate, gate. And I'm repeating it. I'm repeating it. And after maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes of this, all of a sudden, I got taken into a huge space. But it was not exactly the white space. I was inside some kind of, I could still see myself sitting on the bench where I was sitting, but there was a giant bubble, invisible bubble or field around me. And when I said gate, gate, like every syllable was like a thunderclap. Gate, it was the whole edge of that field started trembling. Not only trembling, but every syllable, every that I pronounced was like a punch, like somebody took a fist and punched it against that field, and the field was rippling the way with light and also a ripple of energy, as if you were to drop, the best analogy is as if you were to drop a rock in a lake. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. And it's like every syllable went boom, 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 like a giant hammer that was literally shattering whatever vessel that my consciousness was contained in. I had never in my life had an experience like that. And I've been repeating this mantra as much as possible. Sometimes, even now, when I'm walking down the street, I'm silently repeating it in my head. It has created, this is the mantra that all Buddha recite for them to elevate and go into the highest realm. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. By the way, when you go to Asia, to Wesak celebrations, they are repeating this mantra and singing it all the time. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone. And the way I was doing it is that I would repeat the mantra, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. And then in my head, silently, I would repeat gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, so be it. So that I could understand the meaning, because it's in Sanskrit, it's a foreign language to me. And I would repeat the next line. And I did it like this for 15 minutes. And suddenly it was just something extraordinary. Now I can tell you that if I didn't connect to I had done this before multiple times, but if I didn't connect to my receiver the way I did before, I know for a fact I would not have been able to ground. It's not that vibration is not resonating in the universe. The gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, so be. That vibration is resonating in the universe. It's just that I didn't have the capacity, because I was not connected to my receiver, to ground it, to hold it, and to let it resonate for my own spiritual conundrum. All the things that make me feel shameful and undeserving of the blessing that the giver is trying to give me. So it was quite extraordinary for me to get to a place where I could accept this. And I've been very pleased, and indeed, that I'm able to resonate this in a way that's demonstrating to me the true power of the mantra. Any questions, any comments that you may have? Have you ladies been using it? The mantra, has it been, how is your experience with this so far?
Okay. This, I mean, it's this what you're saying is profound, and I I am in the process of going back. I mean, going to. I mean, I don't know how to say the mantra or whatever, but I'm in the process of going back over remembering my life, and I'm going to spaces that I have not been before, I didn't remember before, recall, and I'm now connecting to um, my my inner self, my I guess my I don't know how to put. I mean, my um, inner self, and with my outer self,
Mhm.
and I'm beginning to see things that I hadn't seen before. My my I'm truly a giver to the point of fault sometimes. I know that now. But going back even into my childhood, I'm beginning to see that what how things that I had done and had clearly forgot about it. Going back to my inner child and all of that. It's it's really phenomenal. I mean, I'm not at where you are or whatever, but I am truly beginning to connect. And the one thing that I'm really beginning to see, it was the fear that has been driving me all of this time. And now I'm beginning to face that fear and beginning to see it for what it is and what it has done over my period of life in my life. And I'm not anywhere where you are, Pierre, but I'm struggling. Not struggling, but I'm beginning to embrace it, all of myself, and see who I am and what I am and why am I on this earth and for what and all of this. So I mean, by way of saying, I know I'm just rambling on now, but anyway, that's what, and I'm so grateful for everything, everything. I mean, I'm grateful for you as my guide, my teacher, for Esther, for all of you guys for saving my life, and I don't view the even though I don't have my own place or anything like that. Right now, I'm just grateful for life to be here,
Mhm.
to 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 every morning when I get up and do my meditation, and I do it, and I see it a little differently, and it's connecting in places and things that I had taken for granted before, didn't realize it. But now I'm beginning to see that, and that big fear is the boogeyman is no longer
Mhm.
scaring me anymore. So by me rambling on, I'm going to stop now.
No, you're not rambling on. You're actually making a lot of sense. And I'm so happy that you're telling me about stuff from your past coming through, because that journey does exactly that. Because this is the way the healing happened. The
So,
epigenetic memory, childhood memory, all kind of thing happened. I remember talking to my sister and she was asking me, you've been very pensive. You have not been speaking. Is everything okay? I said, I'm okay, but I don't know how to describe to you the full scope of what's been going on, because my sister wants to know everything about me, right? She loves me very much. She's my defender, but you know, and so I'm always I was trying to explain. I said, I need 3 weeks of conversation to explain to you, because there is, and some of it, and I will not even scratch the surface. I will not be able to communicate how many things are unpacking. That's the best way to describe it, is that something from my past begin to come in. And in my dream change, there were bleed throughs throughout the days of memories that flashed in and that dropped inside. There are all kinds of things all of a sudden that begin to fit in, that begin to make sense. If you really mean to do this work, that's what's going to happen to you. I'm so happy that you're sharing this, because that's exactly what's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And more importantly, as you realize all the mistakes, the failures, the successes, and everything else, because it wasn't, the epigenetic memories were not just negative, there were some positive things as well. So I'm beginning to realize all of this. This is what Kuan Yin did. This is the first step of the Heart Sutra, to acknowledge that you're broken,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to acknowledge that you're human.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the moment you go in and you go into that space where you're vulnerable with yourself, then you have, the next step is, this is what she was saying to me, you have to forgive yourself. You have to accept yourself, because we have this standard where we are constantly projecting into the world this illusion of perfection, that everything, that we're in control and everything is perfect. The first part of the Heart Sutra is to acknowledge that you're imperfect.
Yeah.
And the moment you're in that space, the real healing begins. And more importantly, aside from this, you have now to accept yourself as being human and imperfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the moment that happens, light will begin to enter. You're on your way. Light will begin to enter. I'm so happy for you, Bobby. You're on your way. I'm so happy for you.
I'm grateful and I'm happy for myself and for you and everybody.
Yeah.
Who's part of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And here is the part that's also beautiful about that acceptance. The moment you begin to accept yourself for who you are, for being broken and not being perfect, that's the moment as well that even your perpetrator, the people who tortured you, who made you feel less than, etc., that the universe was using as a mirror. Because in my life, because I had disconnected with my receiver, I've had a slew of people around me that were the negative manifestation of this receiver. They were trying to take from me nonstop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And guess what? Because now I've accepted that was my doing for disconnected to that part of me, I am now grateful, because what they were was an external mirror to try to direct me. Pierre, go within, you didn't heal yourself.
Yeah.
I have no hatred for them.
Right.
I have no hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I was healed and whole, they would not have been in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's my responsibility that they were there. It was my mirror. Because the outside is within.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and it opens, it makes you more compassionate. It makes you more accepting of human flaws instead of being judgmental.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it allows you to be a real witness, to observe people with their flaws and everything else and say nothing. Right now, I have these 2 friends on the waterfront where I go meditate all the time, one of which she's interested in spirituality, but both of them are retired. But if you see them, and if you know anything about me and the work and the amount of work that I've done spiritually, a cursory look would say these people are not on my level. But I sit with them and I have conversation. I try to bring light and information. Some of their queries are correct. They're intelligent about other things about life because they're more seasoned than me. And I'm learning from them. And I sit around them a lot of time, and there's a lot of things that they say that I know the answer to, but they're going through their own thing. And I sit quietly and I'm perfectly accepting. I don't have to occupy all the oxygen in the room. I sit down and I let them talk. Sometimes they dialogue with each other, they fight with each other, they're going around, and I sit there, I say nothing. And I let them do whatever. They've known each other for a while. They have a certain kind of dynamic. And I just sit there and I watch them. And when it's come time for us to walk back, me and this lady, my new friend, she lives on 16th Street. I'm on 25th. We walk back together every day. But the thing is that she's listening to my meditation. So she goes, sometimes she sits on the bench next to me or to a different bench. She puts my voice in her ear. She listens to me when I'm silently doing my conversation with Kuan Yin. And by the way, they're benefiting tremendously because when they come and sit next to me, I usually get there a little bit earlier than them. I'm doing the Prajna Paramitra. And the other day they sat next to me. They were like, "My God, it feels so good. I don't want to leave here. Oh my God!" And I knew what was going on. And internally there was I'm like, Buddha be blessed, Buddha be blessed, Buddha blessing, because I know that's the energy around me. The ether around me got changed because of the mantra. So sometimes you influence people by just being around them. And they are very respectful. If they see my eyes closed, they will sit in a different bench a little bit away, give me space. And when my eyes open and I say, "Okay, come, sit," and they all come around, we sit down, we have a half-hour conversation or whatever, and then everybody go their merry way after that. So and I met both of them right after COVID. Because they were walking on the waterfront. I was always doing my silent meditation in my own little bench alone. And then from that, we started acknowledging each other. "Good morning, how are you?" Blah, blah, blah. And it ended up being, then I saw the lady was reading a spiritual book. It was a book about Buddha. And "Have you read this?" Blah, blah, blah. "Yes, I have." And this is the way the friendship began. So what I'm saying is that there's such a deep pocket of compassion in my heart that I can accept anyone from wherever they are.
Right.
And I have to thank the Heart Sutra for this. I have to thank the Heart Sutra for this. I understand completely, Bobby, what you're saying about all of your past and all these memories and all these things that are coming. Because if you're doing the work, like I'm asking you to do it, that's what's going to happen. It will simply show up in bleed true experiences, in dreams. In my dreams, I'm seeing my ancestors, people I have not thought about in I don't know, since they were deceased, 25 years, 30 years ago.
Oh my, yeah. I'm definitely going there.
You know what I'm saying?
But now
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They're coming, my parents and grandparents and all of them are coming back now.
Yeah.
In the dreams and sometimes I'm just sitting and just, I guess maybe daydreaming or whatever, but I see them and they're speaking to me and sometimes. So.
Yes. this is what I mean when I say the wash, like a wave of energy and knowing, like you're doing something else and this thing just wash over you. And then you're having a conversation or something else. It is like a daydream because you're doing something else and there's a completely different reality that's connecting to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it happens. But I wanna that meditation which I do my best to listen to every day is the DNA reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, more and more, it's becoming part of my whole consciousness. The more I listen to it, but in the beginning, it didn't mean very much, or I didn't get it, or whatever. But now it's becoming very clear that I mean, I at first I just kind of listened. Now it became it has become part of my consciousness, and I even know what is going to be said before it's said, but I still listen every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I that's one I really like. But that the others, the one gone. I've been trying to, download it onto my computer, but I haven't been able to get it yet. So I'm gonna try it again and see.
Well, let me know
I
if you
can.
want me to resend it separately. I can do that as well. Okay.
Oh, okay. I will do that then because it's not. I'm not getting it. Okay, I will do that.
Yeah. Send me a text to remind me tomorrow, and then I'll send it to you separately, and then you'll be able to download it separately away from the video, and then you can play it separately from the rest.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
When I repeat the Prajna Paramitra, as I said, I'm at the beginning of this, okay? Somebody was asking in the class, or if not discussed at the council class, about am I there yet? And is it pure enlightenment? Blah blah blah. Well, this is only the beginning of the thing. Okay. I remember, I don't know where I read this, but I remember reading this, that perfection is not a line in the sand, rather than a goal. But once you cross the line, you realize behind the line there is another line to cross. There's another line, and you keep moving forward, right? So one of the things that's very clear for me right now is that I know that I'm just at the beginnings of seeing the importance of this mantra. And right now, I'm trying to acclimate myself and let it impact. As I told you, all the steps that I've been doing so far, some of them have taken 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they fully blossom in my consciousness. So I'm allowing the extraction and the emancipation of this to continue for me. And I sense, as I said the last time, that when I do now the Antara Sutra, which is the sutra that I downloaded, where you go around the clock or the mandala at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, etc., to wrap around, that at every point in that mandala, I will have to utter that mantra in all direction of the clock. And then also, this is the horizontal plane, since that sutra, the Antara Sutra, is about the horizontal plane of the mantra, and also the vertical plane, where the chakra column or the Antakarana connects. I will have to do it also for the Antakarana. allowing all point of my consciousness to go on the other shore, to allow any attachments, because basically what you're saying with that mantra, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. What you're saying basically is this: I release and let go of the 3D and all attachments. I completely surrender everything. And these points of the mantra, or points in which we hold fragments, pieces of ourselves, all kinds of things. And if you can release all of them, I can see a future, or rather I saw it, that I need to do this in the future, but I'm not there yet. I have to unpack just by itself, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. I have to unpack it and understand completely what it means to me. I have to create an intimate connection and relationship with the mantra first. And then I can apply it to these other places. I also have becoming aware since last week, since we spoke a week ago, that the landscape that we're going into, if you're traveling into this place where it's multidimensional consciousness, it's you are no longer a singularity, you are now a plurality of consciousness. After acclimation for a little bit in that space, you begin to have, it's not exactly a vision, it's like a multidimensional awareness of what that future Earth would look like. Now, there are many people who are in the light community who are trying to save the Earth by, curbing pollution, the release of toxins and carbon monoxide and all that and so on, which is all good. Or they're trying to save social, economical, political systems. They're trying to correct the wrong of this world, socially, politically, because they want to create this new world, but model on a 3D blueprint. In other words, they're trying to patch the brokenness in the 3D reality to try to alter it in a perception in their mind of what that 5D looks like. But it's still XYZ axis. It's still 3D. When I go into this connection and I do all this work, what actually I become very aware of is that when I feel the energetics of what I'm doing with gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva, I begin to realize I'm outside of 3D. I'm in a completely different realm, because every time these silently resonate in my head, in my consciousness, I'm vibrating and I'm shaking. Everything around me is vibrating. I am in a completely different territory. And it's frequency, it's an increase in frequency and vibration that is so high that it's a different territory. And there are days, as I said, where it feels like the earth, or for that matter, where I am at the moment, suddenly is blessed by that kind of frequency without Deus ex machina, without me having to do anything. And when in those days when I go to do the hard work that I'm doing right now, I'm often being told, you don't need to do it. It's already there. It's all around you. So to the people who are trying, they're protesting, they're doing that part, it's actually good for the 3D world. But it's not, do not delude yourself to think that this is 5D. That if the world were to be fixed the way you're trying to control it, you would end up in 5D. Don't delude yourself, because it's not. 5D has a Z and a W axis. There are two other axes that have to be connected to this. One is about a different understanding of time and a different understanding of space. And when you put all of these axes together, then you have now the 5D. And if you go to 60, there's an M, an N, and an M axis. And there are all kinds of things that are going to increase the more dimension you apply. Nonetheless, when I sit in that space, I think of the virtue and the feelings that are connecting to how I am feeling. And I keep thinking to myself that maybe when other people enter that 5D reality with me, they're going to feel the same way. Like when I sit in that space and when I repeat that mantra, I get to a place where I literally energetically can feel there's no pain and no suffering anywhere. And more importantly, there is no fear, none whatsoever. And added to that, there is ecstatic joy. So I try to imagine in my head, or recently as today, I'm beginning now to imagine, because I wasn't thinking about that yesterday. And again, drip by drip, these things are coming to me. They're coming drip by drip, drip by drip. So today it was this imagining that in that realm, people will be ecstatically happy. And there will be no pain, no suffering, no fears, and no lack. Because if you fix the banking system, where you make the banking more equitable, but you're still using money, and the debt system, you haven't fixed anything. Because the debt system is still inequitable. Because if a bank is lending you money by using a system where what they call fractional reserve, where they're allowing themselves to keep 10% of your money and lend the rest out so that they can earn more money, that creates the imbalance. It's a repeat of the imbalance and the inequity that has started 600 years ago when this whole banking system was created by the Rothschild. Nothing has changed. You package it differently, it hasn't fixed anything. Remember, gone over, fully gone over. Awake, so it is. You have to let go of all of it. So when I look at people who are doing the patchwork, it's not their heart is in the right place. Again, they're fully human and they're trying, they're on a journey, and their journey is not where I am at this moment. Because where I am right now is that I'm trying to let go of all of it and bypass it, and not bypass it, but I've moved through all the stages and I'm now in a place where I'm moving beyond something else. And I'm entering an unknown territory. Now, the crazy thing is that the unknown, let's say, for example, you're in a country, or you're, for that matter, it's pitch black at night and you're traveling alone at night and you don't know where you are, you're lost, you don't have your map, or your GPS is malfunctioning, and you're going around. The darkness and the unknown can be very scary, very terrifying. But when I am connecting, now this is the valleys of experiences that I've been talking about. You're going into an unknown territory that's scary. But there are moments where I am in the peaks. And doing this mantra and doing this Heart Sutra is actually the peaks. And when I'm there, it is an unknown territory. But I'm excited about it because I feel joy, I feel benevolence, and I feel kindness coming from it. It doesn't have any fear connected to it. It's unknown, but there is no fear in it. Unlike other experiences of the unknown that I've had in the past, where fear was connected to it. It's an interesting perspective to hold, because if I'm in that situation where I'm allowing myself to hold space for that unknown, that kind of like, the best way I can say it is that I feel at moment when I'm in that frequency and vibration, there is a benefactor that is blessing me with grace. I don't know all the ins and outs. In fact, I am in complete surrender. Whereas the reason, let's say you're in the darkness and you lost your GPS is malfunctioning on your car and you're traveling late at night, the reason you get so afraid is because you're trying to control. You're not surrendered. You're trying to control. Whereas when you go in that territory, where you're trying to travel to the other shore, you have to be completely surrendered. So here is to surrender it, because it will begin to suddenly shift a whole bunch of thoughts for us. Any questions, any comments? All right. If you have no questions, let us take a 5-minute break, and then on the back end, we'll start our closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Let your entire consciousness emanate from the center of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Listen. Listen to your own brokenness Listen to all of your past histories, successes, and failures. Listen to all of the past traumas, false beliefs, and survival mechanism that you may have created in this past life, in this life. Take a very deep breath and listen. Listen to your own imperfections. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. I accept my humanity. I accept my imperfection. I accept myself. And I love myself for who I am and for where I am. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, 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 paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, 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 paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake. So it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, so it is. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, it is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, it is done. Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, it is done. Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, it is done. Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, it is done. Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, it is done. Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, it is done. Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, awake, it is done. Thank you for the blessings. accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. How you all feeling?
Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you, Pierre.
You're
Pierre,
welcome. I'm sorry?
at the real quick at the end, there was a very small Christmas tree in my left hand, and it was upside down.
Wow.
I
Wow.
don't know
Well, the gifts are coming.
I
The
guess.
gifts are coming. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much all for listening tonight. If you're listening to us on Patreon, thank you for your support. For those of you on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you next week. Blessing. Have a good evening, everyone. Deep love. Good night.
Good night,
Right.
Pierre.